Good morning. Would you be Patrick Petiprin?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Would you be Patrick Petiprin?
Yes, that's my name. Don't wear it out.
Skorsky. In addition,
Good morning, Your Honor.
attorneys Kimberly Kuhn and Eric Chappell are present representing the defendant Rebecca DeVoot, and Mr. DeVoot is present with Ms. Kuhn in her office. Good morning, Ms. Kuhn and Mr. Chappell.
Morning, Your Honor.
The court overheard conversations between the court reporter and Mr. Walker from the court about listening to the recordings of a prior hearing proceeding to clarify language in an order. The court's opinion, let's just move forward. I mean, we're to argue over a day or 4 hours or 2 hours of makeup parenting time. It's costing these parties a lot of money. And I think we need to clarify the order regarding pickups, drop-offs, timeframes, holidays, and just move forward. So that's the court's opinion. Of course, the front of the court is making it easy because the front of the court is preparing these orders. If the attorneys think there's a discrepancy in orders, the attorney should be preparing the orders. But of course, the front of the court has been kind enough to assist the court and the parties with preparing those orders. In any event, Mr. Walker, do you have a recommendation for the court this morning?
I do, Your Honor. I haven't put it in your queue, but I can read it into the record if you would like.
Okay, let me just, maybe I need to refresh here. There it is. Apologize for the delay. Maybe that Ms. Skorsky, Ms. Kuhn, Mr. Chappell, the recommendation of Mr. Walker is that mother shall be told to make a parenting time of 2 hours for the time she missed on January 15, 2024, Martin Luther King Day, and that all future exchanges shall be at 9 a.m. We need to clarify the exchanges are either at daycare or if there's no daycare at the Saline Police Department. Is that what the our practice has been?
Yes.
Right, so perhaps we should clarify that, Mr. Walker. I'm not sure what else we need to clarify that the all exchanges shall occur at daycare. And if daycare is closed, then it'll be at the Saline Police Department.
I will do that, Your Honor.
There's some disagreement as to the makeup time as well as the time of the exchanges. So, Ms. Skorsky, do you want to go first in terms of what's your client's position on this recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Judge. As I've acknowledged in my response, my client believed Martin Luther King was a holiday, and so he did have the child from 4:30 to 6:30, and it was not a front of the court holiday. We acknowledged that there were 2 hours there that needed to be made up. But with respect to the exchange time, my client is of the position that this 9 o'clock exchange is not fair to Maggie. She's been at Stony Creek Preschool for 2 years, and it is the only thing that provides consistency and stability while her family goes through this transition. And so he's of the opinion that Maggie should be allowed to go to school and that the parties should be exchanging at 4:30 after school. What mom likes to do is go and pick up the child from school after my client drops her off. And Maggie should be in school with her friends every day. She should have that pattern and that stability. The 9 a.m. exchange time doesn't do that because mom will go and get her from school. And he also notes that school ends at 4 o'clock. We intended that Maggie go to school, and at 4 o'clock, the parent whose parenting time it was would pick her up and then go to Celine and exchange her. So we think that the exchange should be 4:30 and not 9 o'clock. If it's my client's overnight, then he should have her the next day until 4:30 when they exchange. The 9 a.m. exchange time isn't fair to the child.
The whole object is to minimize contact between the parents, which is really unfortunate to think about it. Isn't that the whole thought behind this? Is that they pick up and drop off at school, and the only time to meet the police department is when there is no school. And is there school during the summer too? Daycare?
There's daycare. It's daycare. She's 4. It's preschool. It's an educational daycare, Your Honor. So
right.
My client doesn't pull the child out all the time. That is such a mischaracterization. And Mr. Mansick has pulled the child out. It's educational daycare, number one. It's not state mandated, as the court is well aware.
Well, excuse me.
9 o'clock exchange, they drop the child off to the educational daycare at 9 a.m. The exchange is at 9 a.m. They're not seeing each other. They're only dealing with each other if there's no daycare. So yes, so we want to minimize the contact. Your Honor, I'll be filing a motion for my client to give vacation parenting time. Nothing ever occurs. These parties do not co-parent. They do not agree on anything. I had to file an ex parte motion for the child to even just go to a school for just to even get on the placement. So you are 100% right, Your Honor. They do not co-parent. They do not agree. The 9 o'clock exchange is the perfect exchange because the less contact we have with these two at this point, the better off we are, Your Honor.
Right,
Judge, Ms. Kuhn didn't need to file an ex parte petition for Maggie to go to Emerson. My client was intending to take her. My client did take her on Friday and in fact went back subsequently for his own private tour without the child with him. He went back on Monday. Maggie's already announced that she's going to Emerson. She told my client that because that's what her mother tells her. It's over the top. But all of that aside, the issue here is when parenting time begins and ends. And I'm simply asserting for both parents, if it's their overnight, they have the next day until 4:30 at the Saline Police Department. That's what the order says, and it makes sense. This child should be in school every day. It is an educational preschool, and she is getting the benefits of that consistent schedule.
So,
Your Honor, we want to minimize contact. The 9 o'clock exchange, the drop-off occurs at 9 a.m. It's the other parent's parenting time. And with regard to Mr. Mansick's, if you look at the conversations on Exhibit 1 for the ex parte motion to even have the child go to school, you'll see the game playing. He never confirms it. And Ms. Zagorski saying, well, you should have gotten a hold of me. Well, if counsel has to sit here and micromanage, that's a clear indication that these parties don't communicate, don't co-parent. Mr. Walker's recommendation is a sound recommendation. And in fact, Your Honor, if you look at your order, the June order, it states that the above exchanges shall occur at 9 a.m. I don't believe, respectfully, that there's any ambiguity in that order. I'm asking that the 9 a.m. parenting time be reaffirmed or affirmed in the order that's before, that's part of that recommendation, Your Honor. It makes the most sense. It allows for the least amount of contact. My client plans on Maggie attending her preschool. So, there's been no motions before you by opposing counsel stating that it hasn't, that there's been an issue. There's no issue, Your Honor. But we would like the 9 o'clock exchange time. It makes the most sense. It comports with what was agreed on last time. I don't believe that there's an ambiguity, Your Honor. And with that being said, I'm asking that the court adopt Mr. Walker's recommendation. Ms. Zagorski and I can go back and forth on the 2 hours. Hopefully we'll be able to figure that out. I don't have any confidence that the parties will. So I can send Ms. Zagorski a 2-hour, window where my client can have 2 additional hours. I'll also be asking her about some vacation summer parenting time in May. If we can't resolve that, then we'll be back.
Again, yes, the order, and I've got the order in front of me, and it seems reference that certain above exchanges shall occur at 9 o'clock. But what's been the practice other than, of course, this order references Father's Day, Mother's Day, and some time in July 4th and July 11th. What have the parties been practicing? Obviously, it's a 2-2-3 schedule. So the parent who has a child that weekend takes the child to daycare, correct?
Yeah, Judge.
In the morning, and the other parent picks up after daycare.
No, mom has been going and getting the child in the morning, and I'll get the attendance records. Dr. Wooten has them right now. I will get the attendance records and I will submit them to you with a motion to have her stop taking this child out of school every day. What she does is she takes my client's time. She just goes and picks the child up from school. And the attendance records will show this. Dr. Wooten has them right now. My client does not do that. She goes and she picks up the child. So Maggie doesn't get the benefit of being in school all day because she thinks her time starts at 9. My client thinks her time starts at 4:30 and his time starts at 4:30. The child should be happy. And that's my client's concern, is that Maggie is the one who loses with a 9 o'clock exchange. Maggie loses.
Right. Does that occur every Monday? Mr. Blue does not work on Mondays?
She does that on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think, right? Goes and picks me up.
Late, she picks her up on
Fridays
for a long weekend.
At 9.
Yes.
Okay. So she takes her out on Fridays.
But the intended,
Judge,
he takes her out often.
Judge, it's a preschool daycare. It's daycare, number one. Number two, if she takes her out, or it is a daycare, it's an educational daycare. She's 4. It's not even state mandated, Your Honor. She is in school on Fridays. If my client picks her up a little early for a long weekend, there's no issue. And as I stated before,
children need consistency and continuity. So what right now? So does mom pick her up just on Fridays or just Mondays, or just is it random? She just picks her up. I mean,
random.
Most kids like that to see their friends. I've got grandchildren that are 6 and 4. They like their school, even though it's not state mandated. It's certainly it's more than just babysitting. It's preschool. So what is her schedule? The child's schedule right now? Is she there Monday through Friday, or just
Monday?
She's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, and mom picks her up randomly. And Judge, so my client's never been happy about that. He didn't rush into court and accuse mom of wrongdoing. When we talk about co-parenting, I think it's evident what's going on here. Mom makes the rules however she sees fit. And so this kid is the one who loses.
that is so not true.
I'm trying to understand the past practice. For example, if it's dad's weekend, then dad takes the child back to school on Monday morning, correct?
9 a.m. And then it's mom's time. Exactly. The exchanges have been at daycare at 9 a.m. That's what we've done.
But that's not an exchange. That's dropping the child off at school. The exchange per the order is at the Saline Police Department at 4:30. The intent was that Maggie would be in school all day. She gets out at 4, and then my client could drive her to Saline in 30 minutes.
That was the intent. Order. That's not the intent. Exchanges shall occur at child care facility. If no child care, parties shall meet at Saline Police Station at 4:30. The exchanges occur at 9 a.m.
Oh.
If there's no child care, then at 4:30. There's always child care. It's a child care facility too. Your Honor, 9 a.m. makes sense. My client doesn't need to meet Mr. Mansick. Mr. Mansick can't even give her a okay to take the child to Emerson. Look who's playing the games. We don't want to put these people together more than what we have to. If we're exchanging at 9 a.m., if you want my client to say, okay, she will be in daycare, she will pick her up after daycare on her days, you'll do that, correct? It's hard for clarity. So not pulling her out early, even though it's daycare. You'll leave her in daycare Monday through Friday on your days, correct?
On my days?
Yes.
But because of my schedule, a lot of times, every time I took her out early at 9 a.m., I emailed Mark through AppClose, and that's what I would do. I wasn't hiding it. I have to sign in when I would do it. A lot of times for me, because my job is in 3 different locations, it's easier to go pick her up.
But can't you stay until, so you were only taking her out for 2 hours early?
Yeah, sometimes it was just 2 o'clock. I would run over there because of other things. The only times I took her out at 9 a.m., around 9 a.m., Mark received some kind of communication.
How late is the daycare facility open until?
6.
So really it ends at 6 p.m.
Mhm.
So if you're taking her out at 2, it really ends at 6 p.m. anyway. And you're all taking her out at 4 anyway. So that's the time that you've chosen to take her out.
4 is the time Mark chose. Sometimes I pick her up at 4:30. Sometimes I've picked her up at 5. It depends on my schedule. My schedule has always been different.
All right, thank you, Mr. Voot. We've got a very busy morning. It appears that if the daycare is on mom's time, she should be able to take the child out of school. And then likewise, Dad. If Dad wants it's a nice day, wants to do something with his daughter, it's his day, and he should be able to do that. But it does appear that all change should occur at the child care facility. So who's ever got the weekend, they take the child to daycare Monday morning, and then daycare begins at 9 o'clock, whatever time it begins. So do we need a specified time? It seems like the only time we need a specified time, maybe I'm missing something. The only time we need to reference a time frame is when there's no school. And it appears that when there's no school, it should be at 4:30. Am I missing something?
No, that's what the order says, Judge. I think the controversy is in those hours between 9 and 4:30.
And if it's mom's day, if she wants to take her, if she's got off work, and she wants to spend time with her, take her to lunch, she should be able to do that. But then she takes the child back to daycare so that whenever it's Dad's time, Dad can pick her up, whatever, at the end of her Tuesday schedule. But then, of course, the client has simply suggested with all exchanges occur at the child care facility, and if there's no child care, I should leave the Saline Police Department at 4:30.
Or 9 o'clock, Judge. Judge, we can meet at 9 a.m. in the morning too. Why don't we just keep it all 9 a.m. since we have to keep coming back on these issues? My client can meet Mr. Mansick at the Saline Police Department at 9 a.m. and we can do the exchange.
Would the child be at school and would the child be going to school?
If there's no school. If there's no school, Judge. If there's no school, we can still meet at 9 a.m.
So the issue, Judge, is if it's, for example, Mark's overnight on Tuesday and he drops Maggie off Wednesday morning, whose day is Wednesday? Rebecca thinks that her day begins at 9 a.m. and Mark thinks her day begins at 4:30. It's that at 4, you exchange at 4:30. It's that, 7 hours in between that is the abyss. Rebecca thinks that that's her day, so she can go remove this child from the facility. Mark thinks that the child should be in the facility all day and that it's Maggie's time at school and that the exchange time is actually 4:30 and not 9 a.m. Do you follow me?
How confusing for all of us.
Yes, but that makes no sense. If the exchange time is 9, that means the parent who has the child at 9 a.m. is responsible for the day until the next parent exchange. That makes no sense, Maria. I'm sorry. But if the exchange occurs at 9 and it's mom's day and it's her parenting time, she's responsible for that day. When she brings the child back for dad's exchange time, he gets the whole day. So exchange time at 9 means the parent who is coming into possession, that's their parenting time.
But they come into possession at 4:30 and they get 24 hours until 4:30 until 4:30. No,
Ms. Zagorski, if at 9 o'clock, if the child's sick and the parent whose parenting time it is, they're going to call that parent and say, your child's sick, come pick her up. That it's 9 o'clock is the exchange time. So mom would be responsible for the time that the child is in school during that time. The exchange time is 9. I don't understand why that's so difficult. It's very simple.
Because Mark or Rebecca is going to take the child to childcare at 9 a.m. or keep the child until 4:30 if there is no childcare.
9 o'clock
day because it was her overnight the night before.
That's why I'm asking that the 4:30 not be 4:30, that the parties exchange. If there's no daycare, they exchange at 9 a.m. If we make the 9 a.m. time consistent with whether there is daycare or there isn't daycare, we don't have that issue. That's why I'm asking, Your Honor, if we can not do an exchange at 4:30, if we can just do all the exchanges at 9 a.m. If there's no daycare that day, they can meet at the Saline Police Station and it's a 9 a.m. exchange. If it's Mr. Mansick's parenting time, he has her all day.
My client is asking that the child be afforded a consistent schedule and be permitted to go to school, that the parties exchange at 4:30. And that's what the order says.
If there's no school, she can't go to school.
And then she should stay with the parent in whose home she woke up. So if there's no school and she wakes up in Mark's house, he should have her until 4:30 that day.
He should exchange her at 9.
If she's sick, she should stay in the home where she wakes up until later that day.
Both parents, I'm sure, are capable of caring for a sick child. Your Honor, I would ask that you adopt the recommendation and that the exchange time be consistent, or we're going to be back. If we do a 9 o'clock exchange time, either the child's going to our educational daycare for the day, or if daycare is closed, they're going to be with the other parent. It just makes sense.
I will get you those records, Judge. Ms. DeVoot does not allow this kid to be in school all day. I'll get you the records.
Get the records, Ms. Zagorski. I'll get them too. So that is such a mischaracterization.
Okay. All right. Do we need to talk about the 2 hours? I mean, I don't want to come back next in 2 weeks to talk about the 2 hours. Let's address the 2 hours, make a parenting time today. And let's talk about summer parenting time today. So I'm going to have you talk with Mr. Walker about the 2 hours and summer parenting time. Lastly, the parties were mediated with Mr. Godfrey February 19th. What happened with that mediation?
Judge, we're waiting on Dr. Wooten's recommendation. It was rescheduled to June 4th.
Okay. And Mr. Walker, the other thing, the courts can order that both parties complete the high conflict solutions workshop. It's they can do it online. It's one word, high conflict solution. It's co-parenting, and I've heard good things about this program. Perhaps it would assist for the benefit of the minor child. So I'll come back and I'll consider this recommendation of Mr. Walker, but I'd like the parties to agree upon. Let's tie down those 2 hours today. Let's talk about summer parenting time. It's March right now. Before we know it's obviously the daycare, that's year round, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
But Ms. Gorski, the court's opinion is that yes, if the child's at daycare and maybe it's a beautiful day and mom or dad wants to do something, it's their day, they should be able to take that child out of school. Even though I agree that child needs to be primarily consistent in terms of going to school, but there should always be exceptions to that, some flexibility.
Well, sure. So if they wake up and they want to keep Maggie home for the day, they should be able to do that. That's what I'm saying. They keep her home and then exchange her at 4:30. I agree.
Okay, let's have Dr. Mr. Walker about the 2 hours. Let's tie that down as well as the summer.
Okay, back to the breakout room.
Yes, please.